last time I was in Brazil, um, my host dad of the family, he is diagnosed with Alzheimer, and he's doing okay still, but it's there. And he asked me to write again in the guest book. We have a guest book at the house, and he lets people always sign it. And I completely forgot that when I lived there the first time, I wrote 2 pages in that book. And this was like a few hours before my flight. And he handed me the book and he said, "Can you please write for me in the book? Because now I can still remember." And then I already started crying. I might even cry now. Um, and then I started to write in that book in my Portuguese of today, which is very different than when I was 16. And the things that I wrote when I was leaving the first time and leaving that day, that was so moving. And I cried during the writing as well. And I thought it was so healing in a way because he has trouble with his memory. I thought I did not, but I could not remember any of the words that I had already wrote in that book. And there were some friends as well because I was leaving, of course, and they filmed me. And when I look back at it, you can see such warmth coming off me while writing and crying all at the same time. And that is a moment in time that I will cherish for a very long time. And I handed the book back to my dad, my Brazilian dad, and he was like, "Thank you. Thank you so much. And I will read it when you're on the plane." And yeah, then I, of course, started crying again. But that was so beautiful and amazing that that was just like the cherry on top of being able to be part of a family that is not your family. And we just had the epiphany of, let's take a Dutch girl into our home. And 22 years later, she was there again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Truth That Heals podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Anthony Hernandez, and today we have a special guest coming all the way from Rotterdam, Netherlands. And she's already been on the podcast before, but today we're going to be diving into the beauty and the value found in traveling. So please welcome to the podcast our special guest today, Tessey. Tessey, welcome to the podcast again. How are you doing?
Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm doing really well. I'm very happy to be here again. So thank you very much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited because I myself love to travel, but not all the time do I get to talk about this on the podcast. And today we're going to dive into your traveling journey, how it's really shaped your world, your philosophy, all of that stuff. But first, can you remind us who you are and what it is that you do?
Of course. Well, my name is Tessey, and I am a energetic coach in the Netherlands, where I help people with stress-related problems, both by coaching them and by doing energetic healings on them. So that's what I do in a day-to-day life. And whenever I get the chance, I really like to travel.
What prompted you to start traveling, and what was the country or countries that caught your attention?
Well, we traveled quite a bit when I was younger, but always within Europe. We have a lot of countries in Europe, so we can go to a different country every week almost. But when I went to high school, I finished high school, and then all of a sudden I had the urge to go to Brazil. Very different, on a different continent, far, far away from the Netherlands. And my parents told me that I was crazy and I wasn't allowed to go to Brazil, but I did.
What was it that sparked interest in Brazil in the first place? Like, did you watch movies or did you hear about it over the internet? Like, this is very random.
It was really random, and that's why I always think this is such an amazing story to tell people. And when I now looking back at it, it feels so surreal that I'm not talking about a movie or a story that I've read, but I'm talking about my own life. Because I was like 15 years old when I left high school, which is 1 year younger here in the Netherlands than most of the people. But that has to do with me being me having my birthday in October. And I don't know, I just had this gut feeling that I need to go to Brazil. I could not explain to people why. I was in the library looking up all the things that you could look up about Brazil. So in the encyclopedias, because back in those days we had books, we didn't have Google. And I told my parents that like, yeah, I'm gonna be 15 when I leave high school, and I think it would be a good idea if I go live in Brazil for a whole year. And they were like, girl, I don't know where you got that, but that's not gonna happen. And I said, yes, well, I have this feeling that I should go to Brazil. The people are nice in Brazil. It's abroad. I can learn a lot, and I should go to Brazil. And they were like, you can go to Spain, Portugal, somewhere in Europe, but you're not going to Brazil. That's on, that's in Latin America, far away. No, no. But I cannot explain to you why. It really was a gut feeling that I just had to go. I couldn't explain it. Still don't have an explanation for you, to be fair. I just knew I had to go there without knowing why, and I did everything in my power of a 15-year-old to convince the people that I needed to convince that I should go to Brazil.
And did you stay for a year or more?
I went through an high school program. So I did, the program was only for 10 months, and I stayed with a beautiful family. And to be fair, I was really, really homesick when I got to Brazil. I was so homesick that my dad called me every week, and I was crying on the phone, yelling at him that he needed to book a plane and make sure I would be able to go home because I didn't want to stay in Brazil. So that was a learning curve. But in the end of the story, I stayed for 11 months and 3 weeks and 6 days. So one day before my visa expired, I took the plane back home. All sad, of course, because in the end, I didn't want to leave Brazil anymore. And yeah, everybody here in the Netherlands was really happy that I was home. But it was really weird because when you live abroad for a whole year, you even forget your own language. So the way you talk is weird, while it is your native language. You forgot how the Coke tastes in your own country. And I don't know if it was because I was that young, but coming home after such a long time, that was intense as moving abroad.
Okay, so let's slow down here because we're already getting to the story about you returning back to the Netherlands. But let's go back to when you got on the plane going to Brazil, when you're getting your bag ready and you have your ticket. What was going through your mind at that point, sitting down? Were you excited or were you scared? Walk us through it.
I was a little cocky when I was 15. I was quite cocky. I was not scared at all. I was just sitting in the plane like, I'm going to do this. Latin America, here I come. Yeah. And then we arrived and we first had a weekend with all the students that went to live in Brazil for a year with the organization. And that was, I think, 2 or 3 days. And then you moved. to the place where you were supposed to go and live. And I took a plane to this small town in the inlands of Bahia, which is one of the bigger states in the northeast of Brazil. And then I got a bit scared because I looked outside of the window. It's the inlands of Brazil, so there's no ocean, there's no beach, there's no sunshine. It was cold when I got off the plane. It was not this tropical island vibe that I thought I was going to through all the books that I've read in that library. So then I got a little bit scared and reality hit me like, oh my God, what did I do? Yeah, and
You-
then I went to meet my family, and then they took me home, and then I was yeah, that was really scary because they didn't know a lot of English, and I didn't know any Portuguese when I arrived in Brazil. So then, yeah, then I was like, oh my God, what did I do? What
So
did I do?
how did you communicate?
The oldest sister in the family, she spoke really, really good English, and the mom, if I'm gonna call her mom for just for to ease the story, she put post-its on everything in the house in English and in Portuguese. So I could practice my Portuguese and I would know what she meant when she pointed at the post-its like um, couch, chair, table. And then I would be able to practice it. And it was really hard. It was really hard. I wasn't able to understand a word of the people. I didn't get their humor was so different. I didn't get any of the jokes. If people would laugh, I would just be like, "Mm." And I was only 15, so that was tough. That was really tough. Yeah,
So what
yeah.
was more challenging for you? Was it the mental strain of trying to learn a new language, or was it the cultural difference where they're laughing at some jokes and you're not getting it? Which one is more of a challenge for you?
I think both because I would blame the fact that I didn't know the language. I would blame it on that I didn't understand the people or the cultural vibe of jokes and stuff like that. But I was in the understanding that I would be going home within 3 weeks because I told my dad I wanted to go home. So I didn't put in any effort those first 4 weeks to learn Portuguese at all because, as I said, I was really cocky when I was 15.
So most
Yeah.
people, when they travel for vacation, to get away, to see all the beautiful places that you see in the books. But here you're in a totally different environment, and like you said, you weren't digging it. It wasn't really your vibe, and you were ready to go back home. What changed?
So the organization told my dad that it was very common for the younger students to get homesick. So they told my dad, motivate her to find friends, um, motivate her to do extra things at school so she can bond with the people in the town she's living in. So I just told my dad, well, if I do that, then I will be able to go home in 5 weeks. And he was like, go and try, and then we'll talk again in 5 weeks. And that negotiating went on for a week or 8-ish. And then I finally made some friends. They made these lists with words so I could practice my Portuguese. So we didn't have, as I said, we didn't have Google. So when I would meet with friends at their home, I think it was Yahoo or Babelfish, like these online translators, and they're not compared to what we have nowadays.
Yes.
So we would use that, and then they would make these lists that I should study, but most of them were like swear words because we were only 15. But I was making friends. I was making friends, and it really helped that I had a lot of fun learning swear words. They thought it was amazingly cool that a Dutch girl was learning how to swear in Portuguese. So yeah, then after 8 weeks, I told my dad, well, you know what? The first 3 months are the hardest of this exchange. So I will stay for the first 3 months and then I will go home. And then he was like, okay, perfect, good, happy to hear that. And then I had to move to a different host family because the first family of mine was a temporary family.
Mm.
So I moved to a really big city in Salvador, which is in the northeast of Bahia. So I stayed in the same state, but I moved to a different family. And then I was in a new environment, and I was like, okay, Dad, you know what? I'm gonna give it another month here. And he was like, great, good for you. And I think after a month or a month and a half, it was Carnival in Brazil. And we all have heard stories about Carnival in Brazil, I think. They're all true.
Okay.
And so after that, I didn't want to go home anymore. I told my dad, I think I like it here. The people are nice. My Portuguese is well. I think I might do the whole program. And he laughed so loud and he was like, well, good for you. I'm so happy to hear that. I think
Okay.
he even told me one day that he called the organization to tell them, like, I don't know what happened, but she's staying.
Well, that's awesome because I mean you were still very young, and to kind of summarize and go back, you had this vision. I want to go to Brazil. I don't know why, but I want to go. And you did all the convincing that you could to your father or whoever. You're on the plane. You go to Brazil. You're in this new environment, um, and you did have your challenges, but then ultimately you fell in love.
Yes.
Not with the what did you fall in love with the person? I mean, just or did you fall in
Oh,
love with the
no.
place, or what was it, or both, or what?
Oh, it was all of it. I fell in love with the second host family. They are so kind and so loving, and they were very patient with me. And it was a big family, so there was always something to do and someone to talk to. And my Portuguese was already okay when I moved in with them. And they helped me learn Portuguese really, really, really good. It is because of them that I speak Portuguese the way I do today. I also got my first Brazilian boyfriend after the
Oh,
carnival,
do tell.
who was really proud that he was dating this Dutch girl. And yeah, well, I turned 16 in the meantime. I had a boyfriend, I had friends, I was able to speak the language. The food finally grew on me because in the Netherlands, it's very common to have potatoes every day. But in Brazil, it's very common to have rice and brown beans or black beans every day. And I did not like that at all. And then about 6 or 7 months in Brazil, if we didn't have the rice with the beans, I was like, where's the beans? The beans. And I remember the first time that I did that, I was like, oh my God, what happened here? So yeah, in time, everything just grew on me. The people, the place, the food, even school. In Brazil, you go to school or from 7 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon, or from 1 till later. I had to go to school at 7 in the morning,
Mhm.
and in the Netherlands, I was going to school at 9 in the morning. Also, a big difference. But I managed to, in the end, wake up on time and even go to school with a smile on my face. So yeah, it really grew on me. I adapted, I guess.
When you landed in Brazil initially, what were your thoughts at first, that first week, compared to the last week that you were there?
That is like if I time traveled through a different dimension. That was so different because I really did not want to leave. But you signed a contract in this program that you need to go home and you need to stay home for at least 4 months before you're allowed to go back to the country where you did your exchange. And I was so sad and I was so mad that that rule existed because I just wanted to stay in Brazil. And if you compare that to me wanting to go home on my fourth day in Brazil, that is completely a different thing.
It's completely different because from the beginning of
Completely
your
different.
story, you didn't even want to be there anymore. You were calling your dad, "Dad, I want to go home," and
Crying.
now you wanted to stay. What did you learn about the culture, and how did it impact you? Because I mean, as we were talking before the actual recording, a big part of you is yearning to return to Brazil, and you might do so.
Yes. Um, there's this word in Portuguese called saudades, and that's a word that is something that I learned in Brazil. It means that you're longing to something, you're not missing it. It's a more deeper feeling of yearning, and it can be to a place, a person, a moment in time. I even got it tattooed when I went to Brazil a different time. So I have it in two ways because when I'm in Brazil for a really long time, there are moments that I start to miss the Netherlands as well. But when I'm in the Netherlands for a long time, I have the saudades for Brazil after a long time as well. So that's something I learned in Brazil that it is okay to long for something and to do so with a warm heart, with compassion, and not with a sense of lack. I hope for all the people who do speak Portuguese that I translated that feeling of saudades in a correct way. But that is something that I learned. And I also learned one of the first things that I can recall is that I always thought of being very giving. And when I was, I think, in my 6th week or 5th week, my first Brazilian sister, she called me selfish. And I was shocked that someone would call me selfish. And then, after all the angry feelings settled down, I went to her room and I was like, could you please explain to me why on earth you would call me selfish? Because I have never been called selfish and I don't see myself as selfish. And then she started to explain all these things. And I was like, oh, but in the Netherlands, in my culture, those things are really normal and common. And those are not things that you should be sharing. And oh, that's so funny. And she was like, well, here in Brazil, those things are really selfish because here we share everything, everything. The way you feel, you express it. The things you have, you share. The food, you share. The coffee, you share. It's like in the Netherlands, if you have friends over, and this is not in every household, okay, but in a lot of households, it's when it's 6 o'clock, you should go home because it's dinner time and you don't share your dinner with people who came over. But in Brazil, it's like when you go to someone, the first thing that they will ask is, do you want to take a shower? The bathroom is over there. No? Are you sure? Okay, but I have a towel here for you. And then they will say, okay, let's eat something. And then after that, they will say, here, have a drink. Coffee or suku, juice. But in the Netherlands, it's like, here you have one cookie, and then they will take away the tin, put the lid on, and put it back in the cabinet. It's a different culture. And that was something that I learned because of that experience that while things might be really normal for you, it might be totally out of this world for another person. And you can only experience those things if you travel. That wisdom is something that you can only experience when you travel, in my opinion. So that was very eye-opening to me on my 15th.
Did it feel like an invasion of privacy?
In the beginning, yes. Yes.
How'd you get through that? Because I'd be like, hey, shit, I gotta share this. This is my coffee, or hey, these are my cookies. But hey, I mean, here you are also open to adapting, and it's a totally different culture. Um, so yeah, how did you adapt? Like, what was your thought process?
I told myself a lot of times that I have to stay open-minded. And in the beginning, would tell myself, Tessie, just go with it. In a few weeks, you will be home. And then you can do all those things like you're used to. But in the end, I remember that when I was living with my second host family, you have this other thing that in Brazil is very common to leave your bedroom door open. So when you're in your room, you just leave the door open, and then the people who you live with, they can come in and out, and you share that space as well.
Wow.
And then we had a visit from people from Germany, and they would be closing their doors. And I was like, oh my gosh, is she closing the door? Like a 16-year-old little dog with a sister. Is she closing her door? And then we're like, oh. And then she was like, you wanted to close your door when you moved in as well. And I was like, oh yeah. Yes, I did. I did. So yeah, it's really funny. You have to laugh about those things and about those moments. That's the best medicine.
What I'm hearing in your story is it started off, and you said it, cocky. You were very cocky, and someone called you selfish. But then, as the story continues, you're becoming more aware of your surroundings. Also, you're becoming more aware of how people feel, what they're going through, and now you've become pretty much Brazilian at this point. Now you're like looking at the German, and you're like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? They're not closing the doors. Um, so yeah, it's amazing how traveling, and not just traveling, but also really staying in a different culture, different environment, can have such a transformational effect. And so, with that, what was it that transformed most about you personally from this trip, and how has it affected your life?
I learned to be more patient with life, with people, especially with people, but also with myself, and to be more soft and kind to people general, because you don't know where they come from, you don't know what they have lived. And before that first time away, I would always have an opinion. And I learned that it is okay to sit still, wait, and first hear the other people's story before blapping my own opinion out in the open. So when I came home, a lot of people told me that I've changed, and I wasn't as bitchy as I was before. So it changed me a lot in a very, very good way up to today. Yeah, definitely.
And now today we can see that it's made such a transformation because you're helping people with your coaching, and you can really see how it's made an impact in your life, and now you can make an impact in other people's lives. But talking about impact, something that I always think about when I travel, because I've traveled quite a bit, I always, many times I'll look back and I'll think of memories. And sometimes as I think of the memories, it's as if I'm there, as if I'm smelling those places where my mind is uh, recalling, and I can taste the foods, and I can even feel the emotions of when I'm thinking in my mind of a memory of me talking to someone, and the joy or maybe frustration, it's as if I'm reliving that emotion. the impact of past events. For you, remembering all your time in Brazil, not only that trip, but all the trips that you've done, what is a memory that stands out?
There's one that comes to mind. The last time I was in Brazil, um, my host dad of the family, he is diagnosed with Alzheimer, and he's doing okay still, but it's there. And he asked me to write again in the guest book. We have a guest book at the house, and he lets people always sign it. And I completely forgot that when I lived there the first time, I wrote 2 pages in that book. And this was like a few hours before my flight. And he handed me the book and he said, "Can you please write for me in the book? Because now I can still remember." And then I already started crying. I might even cry now. Um, and then I started to write in that book in my Portuguese of today, which is very different than when I was 16. And the things that I wrote when I was leaving the first time and leaving that day, that was so moving. And I cried during the writing as well. And I thought it was so healing in a way because he has trouble with his memory. I thought I did not, but I could not remember any of the words that I had already wrote in that book. And there were some friends as well because I was leaving, of course, and they filmed me. And when I look back at it, you can see such warmth coming off me while writing and crying all at the same time. And that is a moment in time that I will cherish for a very long time. And I handed the book back to my dad, my Brazilian dad, and he was like, "Thank you. Thank you so much. And I will read it when you're on the plane." And yeah, then I, of course, started crying again. But that was so beautiful and amazing that that was just like the cherry on top of being able to be part of a family that is not your family. And we just had the epiphany of, let's take a Dutch girl into our home. And 22 years later, she was there again.
Wow.
So that was very, very special. Yeah.
Now, well, thank you for sharing that because you really see the emotions and I mean, it's beautiful the part about traveling where you can make friendships that last a lifetime and many times, friends come and go, but there are some friends who remain in our hearts forever. And so that's what I'm
Yeah.
hearing from this story. And they become like family at times. Um, but now talking about family, you had to go back. Your trip was over. Your visa is about to expire, and you're on your plane and you return. What do you think your family was thinking when they saw you? Were they thinking, "Who the hell is this person?" Or what was it? Because you already explained a bit about the change, the transformation that you had, but now that you were back home, was it hard? Was it easy for you to adjust again, being in uh, back home, or what was that? What was that challenge like?
That was so, I thought that was harder than I thought it would be. I underestimated coming home because in your mind, everything stays the same while you're away.
Mhm.
And then you come back home, and just as you have, all the people at home also have changed. And especially in the time that I went to Brazil, I left high school, all my classmates left high school, so we all went our own way. So when you come back, all those people are on their own path, on their own journey, on their own new school. They all made new friends, they all have a new life. And then you come back thinking that you can just hang with your crew like you did before you left. So I really underestimated that it would be so different. And I had trouble saying things like Coke, like Coca-Cola. And that was one of the words I had the most trouble in saying it as a Dutch person again. So every time I would order a Coca-Cola, people would make fun of me for almost 3 months uh, because I was saying it in such a weird way. And the first time it's really funny, but when you came home and people are, yeah, it was a trouble. And when you come home and you forgot words in your own native language, which is really odd to experience as well. And then you need to readapt to your own culture while being home. And home doesn't feel as much as home as it did before. So that was really, really interesting. And when I was a little bit older, I completely understood why the organization said, no, the coming home part is a very important part of this journey. And you need to be able to process the coming home part as well. So that was very interesting to
So
experience.
when you came home, did you have like a hardcore Brazilian accent?
Yeah, yeah. So in the Netherlands, you say cola, and I would say cola,
Ah,
and then people were like, "What? What do you want?" Coming home was tough, and adapting to the Dutch culture again as a half Brazilian was very interesting. Yes, but hearing all my stories, do you relate to a lot of it as you've lived abroad for so long as well?
um, yes and no. I was never homesick. I think my mind
Mm-hmm.
was complete adventure mode, and if I see my family, cool. If not, I can give them a phone call. And they were home. I mean, they weren't homesick, but they were like, "Damn, boy, like like." And so I understood, but I was just out there and I was just traveling, and I enjoyed it. I made a lot of friends. I think culturally was hard because it's a different culture. It's not like I can just, magically understand people's jokes. There were times where I was like, man, that's kind of offensive, like the way they joke, or like sometimes they tease. But then it also made me understand that I don't have to be so uptight or, so
Mm-hmm.
strict. Just relax, just chill a little bit. I mean, sometimes they can be a little bit too much where the teasing can become bullying because it depends on the culture. Like some of the jokes are teasing, even in, Latin American, as I am, Salvadorian, they do a bit of teasing, but sometimes when it goes too much, I'm like, hey, 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 all right, relax, relax, because they can be very over familiar and like really get close, and it's like, hey, hey, like I like that distance, but it also
Yeah.
just hearing your story makes me remember the change and also the humility that I had to swallow to embrace different cultures. And it's not just about me, it's okay to adapt. And so, yeah, there's a lot that I can, there's a lot that resonates in listening
Mm-hmm.
to your story.
Cool. Yeah, traveling is an interesting thing. And I like that you said that it humbles you
Oh, yeah.
because traveling really humbles you in so many and different ways.
Well, with the food, I mean, like, how did you get through that? Because initially you were like, where are my potatoes? Like, what the hell is this? Rice and beans? But then in the end, you're like, where are the damn beans? Where's the rice? Um, how was that? Because I mean, for me, it was hard adapting to new food because I love food, but it just wasn't my thing. But it took time. For you, how did you fall in love? Like, did you start cooking? Did you go grocery shopping, stuff like that?
And well, my first Brazilian mom, she was very, very sweet. She was just an angel because she saw how homesick I was. And my sister, the sister, she explained to her that, yeah, she doesn't like the beans, and in the Netherlands, she doesn't eat that. And she was like, oh, what does she eat? What is common in the Netherlands? So I explained the potato thing. And then every day she would make one or two potatoes just for me. So one day it would be cooked, one day it would be fried, one day it would be like a mashed potato, just a little bit for me to not be as homesick. But she would always tell me to also try the beans. So I made potatoes, but try the beans. And then in the second family, um, as I said, it was a big family. So the parents were kind of strict with a lot of rules. And one of them, for example, was the food. And in the morning, there will always be a piece of papaya for everybody to have their fruit before school. And I did not like papaya. And they were like, well, you live with us now and you have to follow our rules. So if my children need to eat the papaya, you need to eat the papaya. And that was it. There was no
Yeah.
room for discussion. And in the Netherlands, we have this saying that alles went, which means if you do something long enough, it will grow on you, which is very true. So, yeah, it was through love and compassion that the things grew on me, and some other things they grew on me because I didn't have a choice.
Ec-
I just had to eat it.
Excellent.
Talk about buttercup.
Well, I just love hearing your story because this isn't something that we talk about ever on the podcast about the beauty of traveling and not just traveling, but of immersing oneself in a different culture and allowing oneself to kind of being transformed. So,
Yeah.
if you know, to kind of close this, what advice would you give to someone who has the means to travel, who wants to travel, but might be feeling a little bit scared? What advice would you give?
Just do it. Just if the big dream of going abroad and hopping on a plane is too much of a dream, go travel somewhere a little more close to home. Take a train, go to a different city. Don't go for a whole week, but just go for 2 or 3 days, like a city trip, and see how that feels and experience and go out there. And there are so many solo travelers nowadays that if you go on social media and you look up social solo travel plans, you get so many ideas and you can connect with so many people that even if you're scared that you might be all alone, just find a new crew. Go and put yourself out there and have a little adventure. Even if it's like an hour drive away and you book a hotel all by yourself, or you go to a hostel where a lot of other solo travelers are. And if it's not your thing, that's fine. At least you made a beautiful experience. You maybe even made new friends, but you will never know if you don't try. So don't take that away from yourself and just go and bless yourself with a new experience, even if it's bad. You have an amazing story to tell. I lost my luggage. Oh my God, what happened? That's a story you can always tell forever, for the rest of your life. So good or bad, just go for it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tessie, and for just sharing the beauty of traveling, and I love hearing about it. And to close this, can you tell us again the name of your coaching and if there's like a website people can check out?
Yes, of course. First of all, I would really want to thank you because I forgot how much fun it is to talk about travel and travel experiences. And I forgot how much fun it is to tell stories about Brazil. So thank you so much for that opportunity. And for the people who are interested in my work, you're able to look me up at www.toshinefromwithin.com.
Excellent. So thank you so much, Tessey, for being a guest here on the Truth to Heals podcast. And for the audience, hello, wherever you are in the world. I just saw on Spotify that a lot of people are listening from the Philippines, New Zealand, US, UK. I forgot where else. And on my second podcast, I had listeners in Denmark, Switzerland, Sweden, and I can't remember the other countries. But it's just so amazing how social media, podcasting, it's able to go global. So I'm just bringing that up because I hope that these episodes can reach even more people and have a lot of people who I think can benefit from listening to this episode. So please, those in the audience, feel free to share this to your friends, colleagues, to someone who might benefit from hearing this episode or any of the other episodes. So please share, subscribe, like, comment, all that fun stuff. And if you would like to support my channel, even more, you can do so by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/truth that age 7. I'll be leaving a link below in the show notes. So yeah, that'll help me to continue this podcast. And with that, I wanted to thank the audience, and I wanted to give a special thank you to Tessey for being a total badass, for traveling at 15 years old to another country for almost a year, and years later sharing the beauty of that adventure. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. It was a pleasure.